In today's episode, I'm going to cover number one, what I learned designing my second maternity leave as an online business owner. Number two, what my goal setting looks like 1 month into 2026. And number three, what changes lie ahead for us here on the Contentment Creator Podcast and channel. For those who are new here, I'm your host, Ellen, a certified life coach, a singer, a mother, and a lover of alliteration, dogs, and deep conversation. And this is the Contentment Creator Podcast, a show designed to help creative entrepreneurs dig deep to clarify your life vision, catalyze your creative flow, and fuel your entrepreneurial fire in just a few inspiring minutes each day. Or so it has been. I've got some updates for you at the end of this episode, so stay tuned. Let's dive into the topic of designing a maternity leave as an online business owner. This is the second child that I have birthed and therefore designed a maternity leave around. And for anyone who is new to my channel or who doesn't know me personally, my first maternity leave was followed by life-threatening complications that left me hospitalized for a month. So my maternity leave looked much different than I thought it would. I had given myself approximately 6 months of recovery and ended up needing about 12 to 18 months to fully re-enter my business and come back. And by the end of that 18 months, when I had fully physically and emotionally recovered, was when I started this podcast and relaunched my business officially and got pregnant again. Oh, and also I fully redesigned my house, which I've been really interested in sharing some of my journey as an amateur, budget-friendly, high-end DIY interior design hobbyist. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, please let me know in the comments on my YouTube video of this episode so that I can put that together, because I love watching that kind of content on YouTube, so I'd be interested to know if any of you also want to see it. But anyway, back to maternity leave. My first pregnancy, when I was becoming a parent for the first time, I truly went in not knowing what I would need. So I tried to communicate that to my clients and to my team members as best I could, saying, I'm aiming for about 6 months, but I'm not sure that that's going to be too much or not enough. So just keep an eye out for communications from me, and I will do my best to kind of anticipate what direction we're going. Now, obviously, after spending a month hospitalized and near death, I communicated fairly quickly, hey guys, I am not going to be back within 6 months. This is going to take me much longer to come back. I'm not sure when, but I'll let you know as soon as I do feel ready. Thank goodness my team and my clients were very flexible at the time, but obviously that's not an ideal circumstance for a business owner to just kind of leave their business on permanent hold until they come back. There are a few lessons I've learned now in the second pregnancy, which thank goodness my pregnancy, my birth, and my postpartum period have gone complication-free. All worked out well, and I am safe and healthy and happy on the other side. So here are a few things that I learned in this second maternity leave that I think improved on my experience. My first tip is give yourself more time than you think you need. So the first time, I thought I could get away with 6 months or so as a starting point, and obviously it took much longer than that to come back. This time I gave myself about 5 months because my baby was due in August and I thought I could be back and running by the start of the new year. Turns out 6 months is really more of a minimum for me than I thought. So here I am at the beginning of February, really getting back into the swing of things. I started with my clients, just sending out emails and getting my business back up and running. And now in February, here I am returning to all my channels and my content creation work, refreshed and ready to go. I will make a note that in the American culture, as well as being an entrepreneur, we are encouraged to be productive and to bounce back as quickly as humanly possible. But as a coach, a CEO, and a woman who has given birth, recovering from even the most ideal births is still a huge endeavor. Even in the best case scenarios, like I've experienced this second birth, the sleep deprivation, the bleeding, the brain fog, the symptom management, the breastfeeding journey, the hormonal roller coaster, the adjustments in your marriage, the transitions and often regressions with other children, and just the massive identity shift that comes with, becoming a parent to a new human being. That process is not something to be rushed and handled. It's a process to be treated exactly as it is, a healing path. So if you set up your business to operate smoothly without you for, let's say, 6 weeks, but then you end up needing 4 months, 6 months, or even like me, a year. What then? What happens to your business? What happens to your clients? What happens to your income? You're left either ignoring your needs and jumping in way too quickly after childbirth to get things moving by yourself again, or you're left scrambling to figure out how to pivot while dealing with all those other things that I just mentioned. So all that to say, give yourself more time than you think you need so that then if you decide to come back sooner, you can. My next tip is to get more support than you think you need. That can look like a daytime nanny, a nighttime nurse, or a newborn care specialist, a postpartum doula to help you with your recovery, or even just a pre-planned calendar full of blocked weeks with family or friends that are coming to the house on rotation to help you. Really call upon your village and use your resources to bring in support. My last tip, and the one that has made the biggest difference this maternity leave, is to hire help to run things while you are away. So that could mean that you need to gather enough resources, aka revenue, towards the end of your working period so that you can fund your business while you are away. Or you need to think about creating a new revenue stream that is self-sustaining and can fund the support that you're paying while you're away. And I say this because just like in tip number 1, when I talked about how the timeline can be unpredictable, but we want to give ourselves a robust and comfortable space after childbirth, you want to have the freedom to pivot or to just really step fully away while you are away. And if you need to pivot, it's all on you to do so if you have no other support built into your business. What that can look like is a personal assistant or some sort of manager, project manager, content manager, paid by the hour or the project that keeps the important pieces of your business running. For me, what that looked like was simply my content management. One of my highest priorities in my business right now is building out my channels on social media and this podcast. And my goal was really true and honest consistency. So what I needed was somebody to keep that content machine running while I was away so that the algorithm didn't punish me and totally dock all the progress that I made over the course of 2025 when I stepped away for my maternity leave. For me, what that looked like was batching 175 individual episodes so that my content manager could take that and repurpose them while I'm away. Because my content is not yet generating income, that meant for me being really conscious about my budget and savings in my business to continue funding that content manager to just fully handle things while I was away. So I'm curious to hear from you if any of these 3 things also really worked well for you, or if there are any other essential tips that you would add to planning a maternity leave while being a business owner. Please leave a comment so that you can help other mothers out. Now let's talk about goal setting a month into the year. Now, I'm a life coach and I am no stranger to goal setting, but this year, the new year just passed me by in a blink, and the next thing I woke up, it's February 1st, and I have not written my goals. So if you're like me and you haven't taken a moment to clear your head, clarify your thoughts, and cast your new vision, consider this your invitation that it's never too late. And here's the process that I used this year as a new mom of 2, running a business and managing a house all at the same time. So typically I have a really in-depth tool that I personally use for myself and with my clients that goes really deep into goal setting and vision casting and just rooting yourself in a deeper vision for how to fulfill a big dream or how to achieve better balance and synergy in all areas of your life. But this year, I did not have that capacity. What I had was a dark nursery with a napping newborn on me and a phone. So instead of taking a journal or typing out on my computer these big goals or this big vision, I met myself where I was this year, and I opened a Google Doc on my phone, and here's what I decided to prioritize. I believe the most important part of goal setting and vision casting is to focus on not just what you want to achieve, but who you want to be or become in the process of pursuing those goals. So that's where I started. I came up with 5 areas of my life that were my highest priority of this year. I tend to pick 5 just because that number feels good to me. Many of my clients will pick 3 or 4 or 2. It doesn't really matter, but that can be anything from well-being and wellness goals to business and revenue goals to relationship or spirituality goals, anything and everything in between that. So for me this year, my 5 areas were my business, my content, my creativity, my family, and my leadership. What I will typically do, which is part of my process, is write a full 1-page journal in the day of the life of my future self, where I am fully envisioning what December 31st, 2026 looks like when I have completely fulfilled all of the goals that I set out for myself right now. Then I will use that vision statement as almost just like a daily reminder of the path that I'm walking. Like, who am I becoming? What does my life look and feel and taste like in the future, as if it's already today, so that I can practice those qualities, lean into those habits, create that breakthrough within me that allows those results to manifest themselves. That didn't feel accessible to me right now. Call it postpartum brain fog or just call it sleep deprivation, brain drain. But I just could not get into a zone to envision the future like that. So where I started was taking those 5 areas and breaking them down into 5 words that capture the essence of who I wanted to be or what I wanted to experience more of in each of these areas. So I'm going to get my phone out here and read you my words just for some inspiration for yourself to consider. Obviously, this is an organic and original exercise for you to go through with yourself, but I'm happy to give you my examples. So when answering this question, who do I want to be or what do I seek to experience more of in each of these areas? For my business, I chose the words simplified, easeful, partnered, profitable, and effective. For content, I chose prolific, creative, consistent, impactful, and generative, which for me, generative meant generate something beyond itself, like new leads or products or services. For creativity, I chose the words ritualized, organic, self-expressive, purposeful, and connecting. For my family, I selected deep presence, adventurous, intentional, supported, and nourishing. And for leadership, I chose community, justice, healing, patience, and empowered. So I always focus on the who of what I'm being and becoming in any project or goal that I set for myself, because at the end of the day, it is more about the journey than it is the destination. And who we are becoming in the pursuit of our life is ultimately the point of all of this. By naming these qualities or values or pillars that I want to lean on as I create the results in each of these areas, at the end of the year, I can look back on not only the results that I achieved in terms of what I accomplished and did, but also the pieces of myself that became stronger, like my patience or my creativity or my resilience. And I can celebrate that as much as I celebrate what I accomplished and did. And then after I made each of those columns in a simple Google Doc table, I went through the nuts and bolts of creating quarterly milestones and then breaking those quarterly milestones down into step-by-step actionable things and kind of made the roadmap and timeline for myself. And then once I had that list in front of me, I just started with January. I made a checklist for myself. And then at the end of the month of January, I went through my checklist and checked off what I had achieved and then moved what I had not into my checklist for February. So now I have a rhythm of a monthly check-in. The intention is just to open the document again to continue revisiting my declarations and my intentions for myself over the course of this year, because the last thing I want to do is make all of these goals and then never open that document until the end of the year. So by having this monthly routine, I can go back and see those words that I seek to infuse in my experience of these areas of my life. And then I can keep track of the action steps and the milestones that I want to achieve, and therefore achieve the goal, but also more importantly, celebrate the progress along the way. Having these monthly check-ins are not just about what did I do and what did I not do. It's also about celebrating like, oh, I actually took more steps forward than I thought I did. And I am practicing all of these qualities that I seek to have more of in my life. So yay, I have the opportunity to really celebrate and be present to my progress. So I'm curious to hear if any of those words or that goal setting process resonates with you and what some of your words might be. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Now let's talk about where are we going from here in this podcast and this channel? What's changing? What's staying the same? What can you expect from me, etc. So first, I want to share what worked well before I go into what didn't and what's going to change. What worked really well in 2025 with a year of daily content was seeing real substantial growth in all of my channels. I think the daily content really did prove to the algorithm that I'm here and I'm a voice to be heard, and therefore it didn't suppress my content as much as it has in the past by sporadically posting. So I sat down and I actually did the math, and I would love to celebrate with you some of the milestones that we reached across all of the platforms that I share on. I gained over 600 new subscribers and followers on various platforms. I gained 85,000 views on YouTube alone, 128,000 new views on TikTok, which are my primary two platforms. Also, I think I may have forgotten to actually say on any of my episodes that the Contentment Creator Podcast actually ranked in the top 200 entrepreneurship podcasts in the US, which is wild. I was ranked number 195 out of all of the thousands and thousands of entrepreneurship podcasts in the world. It's a total honor and totally due to you, my beautiful audience. So thank you for not only supporting me, but coming back again and again to be inspired, to gain value, to take into your businesses and lives, and for starting to form a real sense of community for me as a creator. This is a new bag for me, and I'm not used to speaking to a camera and creating a community in this way. I have really enjoyed the process of sharing something daily on all of these platforms and seeing the compound effect of that in terms of people coming back and engaging and messaging me their takeaways from various episodes. And I will say, in addition to what worked about having daily content, is that I got a lot of practice at clarifying my messaging, my thought leadership, and just the core pillars of my beliefs that I want to share in my content. So by speaking from my professional background, as well as my personal perspective as a growth-minded life coach, a mother, a wife, and a business owner in my pursuit of contentment and creative fulfillment and capacity to have a really big, bold life, I think I really got clear on my brand and my beliefs, which I will continue leaning into all of that this year. What I think didn't work, and I'm going to be changing this year, is my creative process. What I did was batch record unique episodes that were written word for word for me to share with you all. And what worked about that at the time was I was able to just really divide my days into different parts of the process. So one day was ideation, the next day was scripting, the next day was filming, and then the next day was editing. And then I would send it off to my content manager and they would manage kind of the distribution of it all across my channels. So obviously that's a really organized way to go at it, but what it ended up creating was a lot of burnout for me as a creator. I just really stopped being in love with the ideas I was sharing about and the content itself, and it became more about just being consistent. So by the end of my 175 episode batch for my content manager to have to, play with during my maternity leave, you may have been able to tell that really I was just showing up out of the sake of consistency, which for me as a person felt really out of integrity to create for consistency's sake. That goes totally against my beliefs and my desires. 175 was actually less than I thought I would create because I wanted to reach, I think, 250 episodes so that I wouldn't have to repurpose very much during my maternity leave. But by 175, I was just totally out of ideas and inspiration to keep going. And so once I realized that that was my experience, I stopped. This year, instead of filming a bunch of micro content that are episodes for this podcast and for my YouTube channel, and then taking those and breaking them down into smaller pieces for shorts across the platforms, I'm going to record a long episode that goes out at the beginning of the week. I'm thinking Mondays, where I get to deep dive on one subject from the lens of a business owner, a wife, a mother, and a life coach. For example, I can take a subject like boundary setting and break it down into chapters where we talk about implementing boundaries in your business, how to create boundaries in your relationships, how to implement boundaries in parenthood, and how to really relate to boundaries in a new way on a personal level for your personal growth. So that way, I'm really taking about 50 topics and fleshing them out fully from a bunch of different lenses. Then you'll have the whole episode so you can consume it as one cohesive conversation if you like, or the following episodes throughout the week are going to break each perspective down into a new chapter. So for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday videos, they will be short episodes like you're used to, but they will take the topic from one perspective. So you'll just get a video about boundaries in parenthood or boundaries in relationship, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll still be hearing from me every single day. You'll still be getting a lot of quality content that you can listen to and consume easily, but you're going to get a little more variety, hopefully, by having a long episode that you can listen to like a traditional podcast, or you can come back and consume the shorter ones that I've gotten a lot of feedback that people really like having these kind of short bite-sized nuggets of wisdom they can take with them. And then you'll still obviously be getting the short form videos throughout all of the platforms. But the intention behind shortening what my creative process looks like, which is just recording one continuous episode instead of filming and editing 5 unique videos, the intention to free up that time is to provide more creative freedom to create some native content for different platforms. So more creative short videos on TikTok and YouTube. I'd love to have like a weekly YouTube video that is much more personal storytelling and creative editing than just what you get here on the podcast. And on TikTok and Instagram and the other platforms, I'm really interested in some native content that uses music and uses B-roll from my life and just plays with some of the creative opportunities you have to make shorts. So I think this plan will be really effective in continuing to nurture the algorithm and to be really consistent in terms of people receiving something from me. But it gives me a lot more creative freedom and the opportunity to really deep dive on a conversation and not just touch it really lightly in these short little episodes. If you made it all the way here to the end of this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are probably the reason why the podcast ranked nationally and why these views continue to increase day by day. I'm so grateful to you, my viewers, and my community here. And I would love to encourage you to go into the description of this episode and find the form that I've created for you to give me ideas about what would resonate and really impact you the most for me to deep dive on throughout this year. Obviously, I have about 50 more topics to pursue over the course of this year that we can really sink our teeth into and get a lot of clarity about. So I would love to hear from you. If you have a few ideas, please submit your request at that link in the description. And at that, thank you so much for being here with me today. Stay tuned for this new era of the Contentment Creator Podcast. And as always, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a day and join me in my mission to help a world full of content creators become a world of contentment creators. Bye, y'all.